What is one word that never comes to mind when you think of the internet? How about static? The internet ecosystem is changing all the time. And if you earn your living in the online world, you have to keep an eye on the changes like a hawk and then adapt. Which brings us to WordPress. When it started 15 years ago, it was a blogging platform. And gradually, it evolved into a content management system. And despite the remarkable changes WordPress went through, its editor remained the same for a long time. So, the time came to take a giant leap forward and redesign the editor to bring on a new bright era for the online publishing world. There's a crucial reason behind the need for change. The classic WordPress editor belongs to a time when content was all about the quality of the text. And sure, text quality is still essential, but it's no longer enough. That is because content does not equal just text. To create engaging posts that people want to read, you need to add media such as images, videos, or audio. And sometimes you need to embed content from other sites, such as tweets, for example. Have you ever noticed how on recipe sites, the recipe is given in a special block that stands apart from the rest of the post? Or how about presenting instructions in an easy-to-read how-to format? You get the idea. Plain texts, in most cases, is not enough. So, when creating content, you need to think about the separate pieces that are part of it. You need to be able to control each of those pieces individually, so you give them the proper editing they need. Yet, it all needs to come together into a coherent whole. And that's where the blog editor comes in. It offers a new and improved publishing experience. So, what is the blog editor? You may have heard about the Gutenberg project before. That's the name of a multi-phase project with the ambition to improve WordPress on all fronts. The first phase introduced the new editor called the blog editor, but also known as the Gutenberg editor or Gutenberg blocks. And in the next phases, editing with blocks will extend site-wide, so you will be able to use blocks to customize your site with menus and widgets. Do you remember Johannes Gutenberg, who revolutionized printing by inventing the printing press? Well, today, a couple of centuries after him, we are witnessing a new revolution in online publishing, all thanks to the invention of blocks. So why is it called the blog editor? That's because everything you write in it is divided into blocks. So in the classic editor, there's one field for the title and then another one for the rest of the content. And the blog editor doesn't look too different in that regard. The title is still on the top, with a lot of space below it. However, that space below is not a uniform blob anymore. Instead, each piece of content you add is a block. If I want to add a paragraph, I use a paragraph block. If I want to add an image, I use an image block. A video? There are actually several blocks for videos, depending on how to add them. And there are also blocks for lists, columns, tables, embeds, quotes, buttons, and many, many more. And all blocks have their separate editing options. That's because each piece of content needs different editing options. Each block has its own buttons that let you control what the block looks like. So with the blog editor, you can create rich content while having control over each individual piece that it contains. So let's use an example and show how this works in practice. I want to write a post about Yoast. And in it, I want to have an image with a caption. I also want to add some things in a list and then embed a tweet at the end. Here's what that looks like in the blog editor. Each part of the post is its own block. The heading, the paragraph, the image, etc. Now, I want to add a caption under this image. So I'll select the image block and type some text in the caption field. Nice! In this list, there's a point I want to indent. I can do that with a single click. Done! And here I also have an embedded tweet, so you don't need to click on a link to go to Twitter and read it. Once you start using the editor, it won't take long before you discover that all blocks follow the same logic. Generally speaking, you can play with the style of the block in the sidebar and use the toolbar for adding, removing, transforming or aligning blocks, among other things. Now, Let's repeat the same thing in the classic editor. The first obvious difference is that all the different parts of this post are put together. So let's try to add a caption under the image. There's no caption field. How do I do this? Maybe add some text? That's a bit huge. Where do I change this? Can I change it at all? And what about the indentation? Where is the option to do that? It looks like there isn't one. And why is this tweet just a link? Can I embed it? I don't really see how. I think our little example here shows in a painfully obvious way that the WordPress editing experience is greatly improved with the block editor. There are two conclusions we can take out of this. First, the block editor is very easy to use, as you will witness again and again in the next modules. And second, you need the block editor to create the kind of posts that get read, shared and remembered. People read more, but the way content is delivered is changed. Stick around to the next video and we'll tell you exactly what we mean.